season, but I wanted to ask you about it because I know you are pumped about where the Mariners are at and the season and all that. But you are like laser focused and very worried, it seems, about Jarred Kelenic. What's the concern?
Well, I think for starters, he has too many non-competitive at-bats where it doesn't feel like he's seeing the ball well, and it just feels like he is pressing so much. And again, there's no way to quantify this, and I haven't talked to him personally, but when you look at like how Julio plays the game and the way Jarred Kelenic plays the game, it looks like one guy's having a lot of fun playing baseball and one guy is so stressed about failing that he's, making himself sick and is miserable. And that's just sort of the vibe I get from him. And yeah, I think after seeing the movie for most of last year where he didn't have a great season really until September, having him get off to a really slow start, I think would be concerning. And I think there's just a general feeling among myself and the fan base is that, we all want this guy to be good so bad. And we see how badly he wants to be good and how much fun would it be, if you can envision the next decade of Mariners baseball with Jarred Kelenic and Julio Rodriguez as absolute superstars, perennial all-stars, MVP candidates in the middle of your order. And so, I think it's just when you have somebody with the potential of a Jarred Kelenic, you just want it to pan out because, Mariners fans have so many memories of top prospects, maybe not to the degree and caliber of Jarred Kelenic. By the time they were actually called to the bigs and what they were, forecasted to do and what they were forecasted to be. But there's just been too many players who have flamed out to where no one wants to have that feeling of here we go again.
Did Kelenic look different to you in September last year when he was hitting?
Yeah, I think so, certainly. And I think he had those clutch moments. It wasn't just the numbers, it was when they came. You saw, even down to grinding out in at bat and getting that walk-off walk and how thrilled he was. And he had some big hits, whether it was a home run or a big double into the gap. And so I think, hopefully those are memories where he can draw off it and say, hey, especially the first road stand, those first two series were not good for him until that, laser beam of a home run off the foul pole. But I do think he had better at bats and, that series against the Astros. And, my biggest thing is as long as his confidence is there, I think it's a scary thought when you say, I'm a perfectionist. Well, baseball is a sport, especially nowadays, where you can fail 75% of the time and be one of the best players in baseball. Mm-hmm. And so, I think that's a really big thing. He just has to find his groove a bit, understand when things are going to come. But yeah, I think last September, you hope, can get him through any sort of rough patch he has on his way to being a star.
I hope so too, but I also hope that last September can get the fans through it as well. I mean, we've heard stories about people, taunting him in right field over the weekend, and I just don't get
and that's shameful.
It is.
At that point, you're not a Mariners fan. You know what I mean? And that's like the Niners fans sending racist slurs and death threats to Deebo Samuel. Well, you're not a Niners fan at that point. You're just a psychopath. So yeah, I think that's an important distinction as well. But no, that's shameful behavior. It should never happen.
And I'm not comparing you to those people, obviously, but I do think for those that are even just very worried about Kelenic right off the bat and have leapt to, oh my God, this is going to be a problem. I do think it's important to remember September just as well as you remember, May. He did figure it out in September and was arguably the best hitter on the team during that stretch. And I think he's there. That's just as real as what happened at the beginning of last year also.
Sure. I think for me, it's not like a losing hope or thinking in any way you're bringing that B word bust into it. I think that's an overreaction completely. But yes, I do think, and I will for sure be, one to admit that it's easy to be emotional about the Mariners when they've gone 2 decades without making the playoffs, that you don't want to be knee jerk. And that's a hard impulse to avoid. But yes, it's the at-bats where it feels like he doesn't know what's coming, where he's just guessing and flailing at pitches as opposed to making good swings at the baseball. I mean, strikeouts are going to happen, especially for a power hitter like Jarred Kelenic, but it's what do the at-bats look like? And when they're non-competitive as frequently as they are, especially in those first 2 series of the season, yes, it's hard not to let those thoughts creep back in and be like, man, I've seen this movie before. And so you just want to see, again, the more consistent at-bats and the better approach.